Thematic Monday. Welcome back. Welcome to the Language of Markets live session. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you guys all had a good weekend. It's June 10th. I think we got everything in there, all the credits, all the music, everything done. Let's see what we can learn today. There's all sorts of good stuff to learn today. Morning, Grace. Hey, I see Nate. I don't know if Nate's in. Nate said he put up a homework channel. It's there. All right, we're gonna. You guys, let's think about. I don't see it. I guess I have to do something funny, huh? I'll look at it later. Oh, I got to add the channel to the. Okay, we'll do that. Let's think about renaming that. Right? Homework sounds so. We're back in school, and there's like rulers on the wrists. Maybe practice something. I think Grace mentioned conversations with price. So examples. Yeah, let's float that around. Yeah, homework's sounding a little stiff, isn't it? But thank you, Nate, for setting that up. Actually, today, and it's a good thing because today I'm going to offer some practice because we really do need the practice. Yeah, because Grace says because she's the touchy-feely. Conversations with price isn't that touchy-feely. That's kind of poetic. Maybe you're out there a little bit. It's not bad. It's not bad. But the practice is so very important. You know, I was talking about this with somebody the other day. We learn something. We get this idea in our head. And it's just an idea, right? It's conceptual. And it makes sense. This is the problem with, spending too much time in books and videos and stuff. It makes sense. It's up there in theory, and you get it. But the minute you go to actually do it, it doesn't quite come out the same way. I think everybody kind of gets an idea what I'm talking about there. And so that's where the practice comes in, the rolling around in the mud. Because it's not possible to come out the same way as we imagine it. And so we do have to practice, and we do have to see the nitty-gritty of it, and we do have to roll around in it. And not only that, I want you guys to see it going on. This has to do with learning. This is a very important thing. See, not only am I just saying we need to do this, I want you to see that going on. In learning anything, it doesn't matter. Learning to tie your shoes, learning to snowboard, anything. The best place for us to be while learning is relaxed. Now notice, whenever you're learning anything, even if it's something simple, if you don't quite get it right, you get frustrated, and it takes longer to learn it. I just want to suggest everybody kind of check out these dynamics. They're little things, but it applies to the trading, whether you're learning here from these lessons or you're learning from price. Do I make some kind of sense here? You guys know what I'm talking about? How about language of practice? Okay, let's banty about some names there. Does that make some sort of sense? Just take it and ground it in learning anything. Go learn to do something, and you'll see. How did I hear it? I read it one way from somebody talking about music. Said if you can hear it, you can play it. If you can hear it, you can play it. And that's a listening and a relaxing with it. And, we're at wherever we're at. If it's hard and frustrating and it sounded good in our head and doesn't quite come out over here, well, that's where we're at. And, that's the practice. If you get frustrated and you don't have the persistence to ride through that, then you kind of give up early and you never get those breakthroughs. I think everybody here has been through breakthroughs because you guys are pretty persistent. But check it out going on in your experience whenever you're learning anything. So we're not just practicing trading here. This is a practice in life because we have to learn from price on the fly when it changes. Hey, we're going up. Guess what? Now we're going down. See? Hey, we're going up. We have to learn and relax into that and make decisions on the fly. it's like, anybody ever plan a vacation or a long trip? You do all of this itinerary and you make all of these plans and it all sounds good in your head. I'm just trying to ground this. And you got this whole idea of what this vacation's going to be. You're going to be under a palm tree and, the warm breeze, sipping out of a coconut, crystal clear water, hula dancers, whatever. And you got this whole thing in your head, and you get there, and there's raining, there's sand fleas, or something goes wrong, or the car breaks down from the airport. Nothing ever goes like we planned it in our head. It's not possible. Now, we can get pretty close, right, with some practice. And so we need to learn on the fly and adapt on the fly. Charts, Edward says, charts is for interesting charts. I don't have anything that's interesting. Long trip, yes. No plans except for a few flights. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'll go with it. I think I know where you're going. But just check it out. And the more relaxed we are, the easier it is to learn. If you're just trying to memorize some movements from something and you're watching without tensing up. And you see this in kids. They have fun. They run, they jump, they play. This is how they learn to move their bodies. And boom, 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 not very self-conscious. So just watch it going on. But we do need the practice. We do need to see where we're stuck. And so we'll give a little practice today. Because models are models. I mean, they're a start. It's like, you go to school, you learn about molecules, and you see the thing on sticks and all the little balls. And that's a representation of, molecules. But, molecules don't look like that. It's a model. No matter what we learned on TV, no matter what animated films we've watched, they don't look like the animated film. It's not reality. So anyways, let's do some work. No plans except for a few flights, trip plans. I had no clue I would plan them all out. Let's keep chemistry out of the trading room. I could do chemistry. A chemical reaction doesn't have to do itself, right? We'll talk chemistry next time. Hey, Raj, you there? I think last time we were here. Okay, Raj, check this out. So everybody, let's learn something, and then we're going to get back to our framework. So we looked at this ES, and we were looking at simple major mountains and minor mountains, just for a refresher. Right? Everybody remember that? And we were talking about, you got it, Edward? Yeah. Good. Just a reminder. And we were talking about the interplay of the minor mountain and the major mountain. And it's just a structure. And the day before that, we talked about how this was a gap. And it's projecting a mountain. Yeah, I need the reminders too. That's the practice, Edward, right? Even when you get it right in practice sometimes, you know what I'm talking about? And, give it a day and you come back and you're like, where's it at? And so, yeah, we need the repetition. We definitely need the repetition so it becomes part of us. I need the reminders too. Sometimes in the reminders, I can see something new sometimes. And so it's all about learning. So this is what we were doing. And then we looked up here, and Raj was playing around. Raj was playing in here. And we looked at the minor. Okay. And we looked at the major. And I don't know, I think we got something like this, right? And we got somewhere in here, and we were looking at the possibility of, seeing this kind of structure the same way we saw it here. Go make a little swing move, And, Raj is like, sell it. We're like, all right, hang on, slow down. But it's the same kind of sell. Now, what we want to learn from that is, so you remember that, Raj? You were like right here, you were gung-ho. You were ready to ride. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. Nothing wrong with, no, nothing wrong with that. I want to, see, there's nothing wrong with anything anybody does. I want to make sure everybody understands that. Nothing wrong with that. I'm never picking on anybody. But there's good stuff to learn, right? So we want to see, Raj can now ground this in his experience because he was like, yeah, give me that, right? Give me that. And so this is what's going to work really nice for Raj because, you know, he was there. He was feeling it. He was like, yeah, sell it now. So let's watch what happened and learn. So as we watch through this, one of the things we learned right off the bat was, whoa, we kind of just got stopped out by a tick. You know, we could have looked at the structure and maybe got a little bit of a better entry, but we can't, and that's something else we learned, that this is, you know, part of the structure going on. See that? See that? See that minor mountain creating a subtle swing structure in here? Okay, so we learned that. So that minor mountain's creating a subtle swing structure in here. Okay, and then it's like, oh, whoa, and then it went back through. So we learned something about that right away. Now, as we watched it into Friday, this was a really good area. Even though it got a bit sloppy here, it was a very good, and then look, zoom. This was a very good area, and it was based off of this mountain. See, it retested it, and then went soaring to make the major mountain. So Raj's idea wasn't half bad, right? It's going to happen. You know, this is all of a sudden you're on the beach, it's beautiful, and the sand fleas are bugging you. It's going to happen. You know, just don't get caught in a hurricane while you're down there. That's all. Okay, and so then we fill the major mountain, and come Sunday, boom, we make a new swing up. And so we're kind of watching this thing, right? It's swinging. It made its full swing. It made its full swing. Something like that. All right, so now let's watch what happened come Sunday night. Gap up. And this is that just pressing down after a gap up. We can see them pressing down, pressing down, pressing down, hard down. Little outside bar. Little stall. Coming back down. Hard up. Does everybody see the gap here? It's just for price reading purposes here. Everybody see that we broke off from that and gapped, right? So you should be able to see that we kind of broke off from that and just gave up. You see, we just kind of broke off from that and just gave up in there. See? Mirror bars. Hard down outside. Now, actually, we've got ourselves a little bitty swing going. The higher high, higher low. And look at us come through. And this is very interesting price action right here. early in the morning. And we're through. Now, then we can take this guy, put him wherever it needs to be, and we can begin to see the waves. Raj's idea are pretty good. You watched last night, and they said, well, here's what I want Raj to see. Price stopped here. Okay, do you remember our level, right? Although maybe we had it a little low, but remember our level? This is what I call return to the scene of the crime. Meaning you were in a good neighborhood for a short that never took out the mountain, and then new high, and this is the same neighborhood, the same sticky neighborhood of people. And if you see, it happened right here too. Remember, we did this part. Intention and then back. Intention and then back. You guys remember that? We talked about it. Once it filled that. So you see there's several possible trades. One to the mountain back up, and then intention, and then back over. Also in the neighborhood from which they launched. Yes, that all actually relates, Grace. So this would be, if there was price here, you see this would have created possibly a pressure cooker. Okay. So there's something to learn when you have a good neighborhood, and then later on it shows some intention. Now let's actually model this out, because this is something that happens quite often. If I was to model this out, think about what that might look like. And see, this would be where that pressure cooker might go. So let's make this simple. But basically, Raj, we had this minor mountain that held the sellers underneath, that then got busted and made a new high. And the same thing over here. And so we're seeing some repeatable things in price. And this is a particular thing we can throw into our tool bag. It's something that we can teach. So we have a major mountain, and then we have a minor mountain. So this is what it will look like. And often the minor mountain will do something like that and maybe fill a major mountain, okay? But let's keep it simple. We have a minor mountain, and then we come down towards the major mountain, whether we fill it or not. And so this neighborhood right here, you should be able to see this as distinct. Right here, see, it's stalling here, and then it shoots up. It's stalling here, and then it shoots up. It's a pivot. Contraction. So this is a pivot. Expansion. And then this mountain that gets beat will often act like where this pressure cooker might sit, okay? Because it's going to run into these sellers. And then new high, and then return. That's your mountain, and this is the key structure right here. Can everybody see that in this? See, that's the mountain. That's the key structure. Now, I haven't talked about this much, but I make these blue a lot. That's what I have the little blue there. I haven't really named it, but it's firing off the minor mountain. Making a new high, and then returning. So it's firing off this minor mountain here, which is part of a major mountain. It's a minor mountain that's part of a major mountain. And, by the way, this will often be, not always, but it will often be represented by a modified shift. Do you guys see how the modified shift is making a minor mountain and a major mountain? You guys see that? Because we've used that before. We're going to come back to that. So the modified shift, just look at this guy. It's making a minor mountain and a major mountain. It's just doing it with the 50% flat out. That's all. It's taking this guy right here, and it's just making the 50% flat out. And we actually use this on one of our stocks to project. We've used it on a few. And so this is leading to minor mountain and major mountain. Here, this one, we literally projected this minor mountain, major mountain. This is a weekly SAM chart. And so we have a median line tool to help us with this, as well as we can see, watch this one. Pretty darn close, huh? So this is one of the things we're going to throw into our tool bag. I'm just kind of, since we were working on it and Raj saw it, I just thought I'd bring it out because it helps us to see everything. And it's kind of a momentum play. It's kind of a momentum play. All right. And so the deal is it's stemming from a minor mountain. It's basically looking at a type 2 trade. Expand that minor mountain into a major mountain. But that needs its own little lesson all by itself. I just thought I'd throw that in. So whenever you draw a modified shift on anything, keep your eye on that little minor mountain as you're drawing. And you'll start to see the structure in price, because that's what that modified shift's trying to do for us. That's trying to grab that minor mountain. Whenever you draw a modified shift, it's trying to find that minor structure one way or the other, and we can fine tune it with a gap. Raj says you mark contraction before the minor mountain. So would this be like an outside bar falling back? It would be. The weird thing about this, Raj, it's like an outside bar at the top of a swing. But it is like an outside bar. But it's like an outside bar that, it happens way up here. So that's a good question. So that's like an outside bar that happens way up here, okay? And then makes a new high and comes back and lands on it. So it's a bit of a momentum situation. It is an outside bar, relative-wise. But just learn to recognize this as a marking, because if they struggle, and we do see sellers, but the sellers don't go lower, and then they resume that area, that offers us, like the little short con and the long con. And sometimes it flows right into what a pressure cooker is going to be. Not always. We can't make it all perfect, but a lot of times. See, in a perfect world, this is going to be our pressure cooker also. So this will create this. And do you see how it naturally is going to create this? Because this is where sellers, the true level of sellers, wiped it out. And then they got here again and they ran into bigger buyers in that same neighborhood. And that one structure creates the next structure. And that's going to create this pressure in here, this pressure cooker of buyers and sellers. And so for now, all you really need to do is remember this top half part. And rather than it just be like a probability setup, it's more of a thing that happens quite often in a particular setting, like this. See how markets are just really rolling here. Okay, they're really rolling. And it also becomes a marker when they're not doing that anymore. It becomes a very important marker as, oh, we're not doing that anymore. We're done. And so very practically, when we get into this area, we can start to think about entries. I think this is a dead giveaway. I mean, every time a market's doing something, it's unique. I think this cluster here is kind of a dead giveaway for at least an entry in the right position. See? And then it zooms across that. And if you don't like that, you take the gap. And, you beat the gap and you think about entries to enter into that swing. And so these are all markings. And this is a very simple thing. And you'll see this in markets that are just, hey, they're rolling. Okay? They're rolling. And what I want you to do is begin to think about what this might look like on the downside. So I'm not going to do that today, but we'll save that. So I just wanted to highlight this. So if we look at say this oil market from the other day, okay? If we look at, say, this oil market from the other day, you should be able to get an idea of where the minor, so we're just doing relative work now. Major mountain, minor mountain, all the same thing. But you should be able to get an idea of where the minor mountain is in all this, just by looking at this. So, if we come up, we come down, where is that minor mountain in here? Tune your eyes and look for like the gap and the zoom and the retest and all of that. You see it, Phil? Good. All right, you see the gap? You see it all squinchy here, and then stall, gap. So you start to be able to see that this was the gap. And this is equivalent to, and all of this is foundational understanding for a pressure cooker. So that's why I don't mind, going off track a little bit here. Because it has to do where they threw him off the cliff. See, this is the equivalent of this. So we can see how it's scrunchy, scrunchy, and then straight up, straight down, zoom, retest, seller, seller, seller. And the next thing we'll wonder from this is, all right, where's the major mountain in all of this? But let's just follow this thread out, okay? And so we see seller, 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 seller. Okay, something's changing. Does it make a new high? They're hitting it. They got a little sloppy here. They got a little sloppy here. So, maybe it's, they're like this. Oh, shoom. And you see the pressure cooker be created right here, in here somewhere. Like so. Actually, we can do the pressure cooker from here or the whole thing. This would be more precision work, but this whole thing is actually kind of the pressure cooker. But, I don't want to worry about being perfect and fine-tuning it. We can look for price to start to make higher highs or higher lows as some sort of confirmation of that. And this looks pretty similar to that ES. And so we see it here in that little piece. We see it here in that little piece, and it looks like this whole thing was the big mountain. And, this little piece was the smaller mountain. And then watch it do it again. You guys see it? See, now we're piecing things together. See, it does it again here. Just learn to, we're just learning to recognize mountains right now. It does it right there again after the new high. So this market is really moving. See, there's that little mountain. And then back, see, there's our little zigzag on the mountain. So we've seen that like 3 or 4 times already, this little zigzag that happens after you come through the minor mountain to fill the major here. Okay, now we're retesting that. We're retesting that. Ah, see? As I come into my market today, this is where, this is why you see me having a downsloping median line. Does everybody get the change in behavior going on? It ain't doing that no more. See? It just ain't doing it no more. It just stopped doing that. And all we've done was structure this. Yeah, the blue didn't hold. It ain't doing that no more. That's interesting. A lot of trading can be boiled down to continued behavior or change in behavior, right, Gina? All you got to do is look and say, find something. This is continuing, and then it's not. We can do it with swings, or we can do it with this little minor mountain structure. And then we say, oh, it ain't doing that. And it can be that simple, really. It's continued behavior, and same thing with pressure cookers. It's either holding or not, right? It's continued behavior or change in behavior. And then we can start looking at this and saying, huh, now, that ain't working no more. So if I'm looking at this, Where's my minor mountain? It's like this, isn't it? Something in here. Now look how I'm dicing the swing out. So I've got that it ain't doing that anymore. Now I can start to wonder if we're going to do something like that or not. So I'll have a major, and then I'll have these minors here. And I can begin to start to think about, trades based on that. And then I watch. See, this also clues you in when a top pivot might be getting made. See, you guys see it? It's a top pivot starting to think about being made here at the top. It holds. It doesn't give out. See? Now this kind of moves over. We've got this stretch going on. It gives out. So now I can start to take a swing. Hopefully I'm not confusing you guys too much with this little lesson. Something like this. Maybe. But now you're deep in the swing, so a little bit much. I kind of like to just take this fresh. And does everybody see where they fell off the cliff? Everybody see where they fell off the cliff? Something like that. But either way, as I'm watching this market, I'm kind of tilted down. All right? So I'm kind of tilted down. I'm kind of thinking, hit me in here someplace. The minors got busted. That's normal, minor into major. But you see how I found the swing structure. Maybe it's down here a little bit, so maybe I'm off a little bit. But I found the swing structure, the minor swing structure in the bigger situation. This guy never hits, by the way. What are you going to do? And Gina says, I can't get up. You got one of those bracelets? I'm falling and I can't get up. But you see how we saw the falling start to happen, guys? With, say, just because we were watching a particular structure that was working and holding, and all of a sudden, it just ain't doing that no more. And so now we can be thinking, this guy's about to fall. You could see it. It's tripping. It's about to fall all over itself. All right. Anyways. Let's do our lesson. And then maybe if we get time, we'll look at some markets here. So what I want to do now is set us up to think about this pressure cooker again. And let's just grab an empty chart somewhere. Okay. So I want to set us up to be thinking about this pressure cooker again, because we have some work to do. One of the things we looked at first was where they threw them off the cliff. Boom, gap. And how that process later projects a mountain. And the next thing we do is we took that and we placed it in a particular part of the swing. So let's draw this out. Let me actually find something that we can work live that can give us a really good model. Hang on. And then we'll go do some practice. Let's go to this guy. Let's find something that's pretty, all right? Now, when you're practicing, what we want to do is find clear examples, okay? So when we're practicing, what we want to do is find clear examples of this. Because this particular structure, let's see what it's representing, all right? So the basic instructions again were, I don't want you guys forcing it. Identify a confirmed swing. To where the base of gap, we'll just call it that for now, okay? That's it. Draw a red box or zone and get in the habit of making things the same color. That's the basic instruction. And I want you to look for things. Play with your time frames. I want you to look for pretty ones. I want you to look for ones that are clear-cut, because what's going on is that this thing is telling us something about price, all right? And it's sort of an after-the-fact thing, so we can wait, and then, you can notice, oh, look at that swing. So we're going to use this as our model to begin to understand what's going on. And so basically our model is like this. Price lifts. Price pulls back. Price lifts into whatever sellers and stalls. Price then lifts. Okay? That's what that looks like. Now, take a look at what's going on here. And then we just draw, we look for that boom. And then we just draw a red box. So that's the model of this thing. Just look for a confirmed high, and you want to see them. Look for pretty ones. You want to see them go ripping through that. And when I started first doing this, it wasn't just a recognized pattern. It all flows, and you guys can see it's like a gap and a gap. They're duking it out near the previous high, right, Gina? And then let's follow this out, and then it comes back. Now notice what it's doing here in the model. Okay, so this whole thing is my impulse leg, right? So notice if we hold here, today we're going to work on type 1s, basically that the zone holds. That's what we're going to work on today. And then we'll do type 2s and type 3s. So this is basically how the homework folder is going to work right now. We're going to look for type 1s going up that actually hold and make it. So I want you to find cherry-picked ones that actually hold a type 1 trade and make it and look pretty. I want pretty ones, not ugly ones. We can work on the ugly ones later. Ah, Phil, you got it. It's a minor mountain, right? What does that tell you about price here? If this is a minor mountain that's holding and running. You see, it's telling you something about the momentum in price. It's like this guy, right? It's going like this, and then it's making a smaller swing, before maybe later on it makes a bigger swing. So there's a momentum thing going on here. There's a momentum thing. But I also want to get across the feeling of this when I first developed it, because I kind of developed it as just a trap for suckers. And this is how I played it. I just watched what the market was doing over time. And he says, what did you call me? I kind of developed as a trap for suckers, for breakout traders. And I know you're not a breakout trader, Nate. But imagine this. I developed this from watching markets. And this is where I want everybody to get to. I want everybody to get to that point, that they can just look at markets and see certain things that are happening. And so I would watch. And, you know, when price got somewhere around here, you know, you're feeling a little left out that you didn't get in on the swing, right? You know, you're feeling, when price is right, you're feeling a little left out when you didn't get on the swing. You're a bit itchy. You're a bit itchy. Now, there's a whole group of traders who are really itchy that when price gets to the high, number one, they got their stop right here. And number two, when it starts expanding, they go a little nuts. There's about 1 million systems to buy that breakout. Why? Because the market's going up and we all feel good and safe now that the market's going up and we can hop on it. And so this is what breakout traders do. And it's not a horrible way to go, because at least you're going with the market, but it's tough to manage your risk. And, you know, you have to, if you're going to be a breakout trader, you kind of have to be willing to take 50 of them and have maybe, you know, 5 or 6 of them actually work for big runs. And that's a hard thing to swallow. And so what happens here, you have the breakout traders, you have the people who are just getting stopped, you have the people who just emotionally going nuts. By the way, that's what creates that little mountain, the people who are emotionally going nuts. They need a little training, you know. And I developed a little breakout system here. Had 3 different parts to it. So one of the things you could do is you can buy the breakout and then just get out really quick. But that's kind of a lame way to trade. But that's the way a lot of people do it. And they sell systems where you buy the breakout and then you get out 10, 15 ticks later. You can wait for a double breakout, or you can wait for this thing to lose its steam and chase all those people back down that bought it up here. And so I originally designed this in markets that were hot going up or down to capture this little breakout nonsense that these fools were doing. They were charging money to teach this. And I'm watching it. I'm watching them do it. And that's why you want to see this hard lift, not just a poke, not just a tentative stick your toe in the water, right? You want to see people go, oh, crap, and get me in. Let me be part of it. I want to be on the bandwagon. Or then you got the people getting stopped. And so there's a certain excitement that you want to see from this. And that's what I'm trying to get across as a pretty one. All right? There's a certain boom. I knew it. I'm just going to get in and I'm going to put my stop. It's going up. And I got to tell you, this is the way traders learn to trade at first. It's moving this way, and I'm just going to jump in. This is why floor traders have made a killing, and specialists have made a killing, because they take the other side of new highs and new lows. And they take the other side of people's greed. And over time, they make a lot of money. Well, they used to. You know, there's no more floors, but you know, on trend days, they get a little hammered, but over time. You know, those specialists on the New York Stock Exchange, I mean, that's a job they hand down through the family. You can't hardly get in there, I don't think, because you got the book. It's pure money. You just take in the other side. When electronic trading showed up, the E-trades, that's all these people did. They took the other side of your trade. They fished the orders out to Knight or somebody. But you can watch. Watch your broker window. Watch your dome when this is happening. Boom, 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 boom. And then it's like so freaking easy sometimes because you just see what's going to happen to them. And sometimes you can project it. But we're just doing it simply, and we're going to use it as a marker. I'm trying to give you, yeah, we still have the option pitch working. Those guys are serious crooks, though, right, Edward? At least the index ones. I used to trade the index options. I don't know what those guys were doing to me, but it wasn't nice. Wasn't nice. And they says when marijuana futures come about, it should be pretty chill. They go get some Mary Jane futures, huh? Why not? Why not? All right, back on track. So that's how I sort of saw this. I watched the breakout traders. But it's also part of a structure, right? It's a minor part of the structure. E-mini munchies. All right, you guys got to stop now. E-mini munchies, Steven says. E-mini, yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, they make a product for just about everything, don't they? Phil follows a few pot stocks. You know what? Didn't we make a list once? I kind of got bored with it. I wish I didn't. They really took off. You're going to have to remind me, Phil. We'll have to put those guys back on the agenda. I think I got Crone up there. So anyways, it's this quick boom. No matter what the stock is, that's what happens. No matter what the futures is. And you see this boom, and you see it in the tick markets all day long. And it happens in a particular market where this will just hold. The market's going up anyways. But it's in momentum, and it gets that quick burst. And either way, this is a good reference point. But in practice, what I want you to do is take that model and see if you can get a good feel of it from price. So here we're on a SQ. I think this is Squarespace, daily stock. And you can watch them stall here. This is like that little blue box we were drawing. Remember? It's kind of very similar. And then you can watch them lift and see the excitement here. Look at the bars after they start to break out. See the excitement. This is days. Get me in, get me in, get me in, get me in. And then all the people who chased here, they're coming out now because they have really lousy positions. This is why they're so nervous. But we can look at where this thing got thrown from. And it's a new mountain structure. As all of these people who chased fall back into this. And, you know, we can draw lines, right? We can do this. You know, we can start thinking about the horizontal lines. And one thing you'll notice with the horizontal lines, it's making an action reaction. And so this is what a very pretty one looks like. So we want to start with what a very pretty one looks like here. We want to see what a very pretty one of these looks like. You know, and you can draw. I mean, if you understand a little bit about structure, then you something like that. And so now you can see what it's, you know, looking like inside, say, a modified shift. And so that's what a pretty one's going to look like in there. And what I want us to do is practice with these good-looking ones. And, you know, if there aren't any pretty on the 20-minute currencies right now, well, go find a 240-minute currency. And so I want to find type 1s. So this is, you know, and label it. All right? So this is a related to the pressure cooker. And this pressure cooker, you know, it has a lot of symbolism to it because you see the buying and selling pressure. And sometimes we put ourselves in the pressure cooker and it causes contraction. And I might have been thinking about cooking at the time too, but it's a pressure cooker until everything's ready to go pop. And so this would be a type 1 trade, and this would be a very pretty example of that. And then you can get a little curious with your observations and see, because stops can be tricky in these things, you know, see where pivot was made or stops can be had. All right, let's work this chart out to live, and then we'll do another one. See, now I'm just going to work it, right? First we found a pretty one, and it fits the model beautifully. I mean, this is going to go in. We're going to do a nice, solid presentation on this. This isn't an every 5-minute prep pattern, and there's times in the market where it doesn't even happen that much, okay? But it's a very good way to frame and see the markets because you don't have to do too much. All you have to do is wait for a high to get ripped and then follow it back. That's the relaxing part of this. If the market isn't ripping new highs, then you don't do anything, okay? So a lot of times we have pressure about finding the right line. Is this the right A pivot, or is this going to be that, blah, blah, blah. This one, it's already happened. And so there's no pressure to be perfect. All you want to do, and don't be chintzy with your box, okay? Don't be chintzy with it. And Rita, you can see that this is a little press structure, right? See the little press structure, Rita? If you're here, you're watching. See, it's related. It's a little press structure. Boom, 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 expand. See, right? So it's also the same kind of a thing. And pressure cooker, right? It's basically a press is saying they're pressing up against something, creating a pressure. And see, at this point, we do not know which way the pressure is going to go. And we don't have to guess. We wait and watch. And so that's a pretty one. We'll find some more pretty ones. But right now, do you see another one? Do we see another one? Yeah, right, Raj? Good. There's another one right there. You see the same, see it looking the same way? See, there's a new high. And see him rip it through? Yeah. And it's projecting a minor mountain. Now, this one gets a little trickier because if I mark this pressure cooker, what other distinction do I have to put on this? I don't know. Maybe is it the same size swing? I don't know. This is the other thing we can do. We can say, oh, no, it is the same size swing. Never mind. It is the same. So it is a major. Okay? So that's our next one. And this is another way you can kind of project where we're landing in the pressure cooker. But do you see the lift gives us that extra oomph for that? Okay, so then we watch that because it is another swing, and this market is just hot to trot. It doesn't come down. It doesn't reach it, right? This one they hold. You see a pressure cooker in here? So now we're just going to learn to see them a little bit. So now we're done with the perfect one on this chart. Now we're just practicing. So this one was projecting another minor mountain. It just didn't play out. But do your swing work. This is swing, different size swing. This is a littler swing. Not the same. See, now we're reading. And so you should be able to come in here, and it's a little more ginchy, but you should be able to see where they stalled and they lifted from. So notice here I'm going to use a dotted box and call this a minor PC. So now we have a major holding and a minor holding. But imagine this. The way I play this a lot of times is the minor will be a type 2 into the major. You guys get that? This is like my perfect world. When the minor breaks, same February 5th. Yes. Yes, you see that? Same thing. So good. It's good. See, part of the training is in recognizing relative swings. Okay? Part of the training is recognizing relative swings. And then we can come up with all sorts of different ways we can use this thing. So let's watch it. Now we just lift. Now we just go nuts. See, now price is doing something just completely, off the wall. There's our little minor thing up here. And see, now I'm not paying attention to this stuff anymore, guys. It doesn't matter, okay? All I was really concerned with was this perfect model right here. And see, now I don't see it being clean anywhere. Let's take this live. See, now I don't see it being clean anywhere. Well, this isn't bad. But it's not the pretty. So follow it under. Where does this guy lift from? That's a swing, right? It's actually an LSB swing. But where does it lift from? Learn to see where it lifts from. Follow it under. Walk it through. Walk it back. Learn to see, okay, we come off the low. We stall, and you can see that we're just stalling. Lift, 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 lift. You guys see it? Watch. Lift, 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 and press, right, Rita? You can see the pressing. So this is where this guy lifts from. And so we can now, even though this isn't the really pretty one, it's still worth looking at. As price comes off. Okay? it's still worth looking at as price comes off. And so now, we're doing swing work again. See, we're doing swing work again. And actually, you guys have just got me really interested in this chart now. Look at that. Gap. All right, so you guys got me really interested in this chart. I'm not going to worry too much about what went on. I see this little swing going on. I see this little group here. And I'm getting kind of interested in this. If I do a modified shift, you can see it trying to give me the minor mountain and the big sloped major mountain. All right, so you know what? We're going to keep an eye on that because now we have a little swing here. And we'll come back and we'll work this chart a little more. We do have a gap here, right? Talk about throwing them off the cliff. All right, let's go find another pretty example. And by the way, this is one that we did live, by the way. And I trade some of these that we work. We didn't do this via pressure cooker. We did this via swings. See this? Remember we were looking at swings? All right. Good old NetEase. Is that what it's NetEase? Is that what it's called? This guy's been good to us here. It's been good to me personally. And we've been tracking it nice and patient. Nate, isn't that sometimes the biggest thing about a trading, I think, that can get very hard is the waiting. The waiting can get very difficult. Whether you're a day trader or trading a weekly stock, the waiting, and that's some of what I do to help here. Yeah, the waiting is the hardest part. That's some of what I do because I'll show you how I wait. I showed you how I waited all along through this whole thing, going back from 2017 when we started trading it. And then we waited watching it go down. Because you don't need to bang out trades every 5 minutes. The waiting, Gina, right? The Tom Petty song, yeah, it's the waiting that gets you because you even if you're trading a tick chart on the oil, you almost got to make yourself take breaks if you're a little crazy with it. Because you want to do something, right? You got all this learning, you want to do something, you want to make something happen. It's a forcing. It's not just you, Nate. Nate says it's his biggest pitfall. It's everybody. And the reason I bring it up is not to say get used to it, right? Yeah, Grace says not just you. Is to pay attention to that it's happening. Just pay attention. I could say you need to be patient. Who cares? That's stupid for me to just say that. But watch it happening. I brought it up because I was watching it on the oil chart today because I really wanted to get an oil trade in before the session. And it just wasn't happening yet. And I was ready to pull the trigger on something really dumb because I'm so good and I could just make it happen. But we got no juice here. I bring up these little things just so you can watch it. It gets to us, the waiting. But you guys saw me wait on this one, wait. And this is a weekly chart, so this trade might last a year, might not work, that kind of thing. But this is a follow-up from our live lesson. Whenever you see this little blue thing, that's where we left it off. So this might be a nice turn down, or it might be a nice turn up. But now let's just relate this to pressure cookers. If I'm right here, and doing swings, do you see the pressure cooker? Nate says, it's interesting because we trade swings, but I always want price to go in a straight line when I'm involved. It is interesting, and that's the best approach, Nate, is to get interested. And you know what? The more you get curious about that and watch it, one day it starts to fall off. It just kind of gets ripe and falls off on its own. Until then, we need discipline. But yeah, we got to watch those things. We have to see us doing those things. This is one of those things you can't just keep in your head and read a book and put a postie up. You know, be patient, be patient. Some guru said be patient. And so, yeah, you want to watch these things. And over time, you kind of watch them to death. And you just sort of lose that impulse a little bit more and a little bit more. And your life smooths out with trading a little bit. But it takes time. So here, right, you see it filled 236, boom, right? All you do is find your swing and see him rip it, boom. That's it. Now, let's play with this because I want you to see it in many forms. I bet this comes out as a pretty example on a daily chart. Actually, start your life here. Do you see it? Even though this is a weekly and it's not much of a stall. See, we need to train to see through time. It's not always going to be a perfect coil or any of that. So you should be able to see the new high, the lift, and the dot. Now let's get curious and put this on a daily chart and see what some of these look like. So this would be like practice, okay? So let's just come back over here. So now I'm looking for pretty examples. See, this is a nice lift, but this breakout, the breakout players got paid. It happens. So we come over here, and you know, we don't have to guess too much. We just look at that. That's a ripping through the high when we see that. That's just a ripping through the high. And you follow it back down to where, and again, don't be too chintzy. And Rita, there's your press again. Just so you see it, all right? It's pressing up against these guys. And then just feel the pain. Feel the pain of these guys, right? Feel the pain these poor schleps are going through. I mean, this isn't a tick chart. These guys that bought it up here are praying to whatever gods they pray to for months and hoping that every day, that didn't work. Maybe this minor gap will hold. Filled the gap. I read that works. And every day until boom. And they start just running for the hills. And this is what swings. See, I'll never do that again. And this is what they say. I know I've been there. I've done it. I'm not making fun of anybody. I've done it. Well, I am making fun. But, you know, I'm making fun because I've been there. Right? I feel your pain. But once we get over that and get over ourselves and, you know, get over the picking on me part, let's look and say, how do we take advantage of that stupid thing I've been doing over and over? If I'm doing it, other people are doing it. And this is trading. We're actually just taking advantage of a situation. We're watching people get a little too exuberant and let their emotions get control of them and hop on. And it's not just individual traders. There's fund managers that need to report to their client at the end of the month. Their client says, you know, you get in towards March, right? And their client says, You got any netties in there? I hear it's going. And then another client says, we got any netties? Because remember, these guys have to be transparent, most of them, right? You got any netties in there? And you know, so he's got to go stick some netties in the portfolio so he can say, yeah, we own some netties. Got to get that allocation in, right? There's all sorts of games that go on. You want to go to the dinner party and say, yeah, I got me a piece. But as traders, we need to be able to sit back and see where there's an opportunity to trade, whether we're trading rice or eggs or spices or whatever. So this is a pretty example. So this would be a very pretty type 1 and I want you to get type 1s that actually don't make a new high. Okay? So remember, this is a smaller swing, guys, than this one. And then you need to learn and watch what goes on with some of these things. You need to learn and watch. And then, since it's a smaller swing, we can look in here. Now let's just play a little bit and say, all right, where did this guy right here blow the top from? Now here's a minor. So now we have a distinction of a major and a minor. And this is reading. And see the mountain? This will either hold or not. Remember, this could be a type 1 or a type 2. This is one of my situations that I love to see a type 2 into the major. Something like this. Now, besides just using it as a setup and all of that good stuff, see, as excited as people get, look at this breakout. Look at this one. This is really the secret of trading. This is what median lines do. This is the whole show, the median line. So this would be a type 2 off of that mountain. And this is the one we played, guys. And so now we learned, although we're not doing type 2s yet, we learned what a type 2 might look like. Just like that. All right. So now it looks like we have a decent sized swing. Where's the next one? Just draw. I suggest you draw the line all the way across. And then you just follow it back down. And this is the projected. And don't be chintzy, right? This whole little thing. Yeah, nice to get a little retest here. See, this is just follow the breakouts in this guy. Breakout, ooh. Breakout, ooh. Breakout, ooh. Such a beautiful thing to see. And so rather than think, okay, this is always just a trade, it's also a following thing. We can follow, oh, okay, guess what's not working anymore? The pressure cooker, the major pressure cooker, right, Mike? It's just not working. It's a good following exercise, too, and that's one of the biggest things. And it's that change. Oh, we've got some kind of a change in behavior. Okay, it might hold here. Something might go on. But, heck, this is not working anymore. To take your money at new highs or lows. I want Mike asks to take your money at new highs or lows. We're going to get to different ways to options to take advantage of it. But for now, Mike, if you can draw it. begin to make those observations yourself. But I like where you're going with that. If price seems to make a new high and then pull back, right? Do you see where Mike's going with that? So maybe we should take our money at new highs. Now think about what you can invent from that. Think about what you can invent from that. There's a lot of things you can invent from that. Some of what I've done is to go ahead and get long the pressure, take my money, get back in. And so first start out by drawing it, and then go from that. But Mike's little insight about take your money at new highs and lows is something to think about in just about anything when it's swinging. So that's something to think about, because prices do swing. One way or the other, prices are swinging. Or at least manage it. And how do we know they're new highs or lows? Well, we'll know that's a new high, so it'll be relative to a particular swing. But let's get back to following. Let's put that on the side there, but I like where you're going with that. Wait for Shane to say not here. I know, I got to do another one of those sessions, Nate, where I'm just yelling. Now we're back. Now we can start looking at swings and stuff. What happened? Oh, okay, we're that big, and so we say, oh, that ain't working anymore. So now we follow price the other way. But my main thing here was to show you guys a pretty one. And notice it came back twice. It happens sometimes. So it's not that this is just sort of the best thing to trade with. It works beautiful in a particular market. It works good for following. And it offers a type 1, 2, or 3. So you can actually use it as a whole thing. But right now what I want to do is practice it. Now look, let's come back down here. And so then you follow pressure cookers to the downside. And it's not really making any. See, like here, it's not really making any. We want it to be in the bottom half of the swing. If it's not making any, it's not making any. And then you watch. And you watch, and you watch, and you watch, and you watch. Okay, now we can start doing some swings, right? We start to see some swings this way now. So let's take this out to live, see if we can find another pretty one. Is that a pretty one? Yeah. See, there's no pretty ones to the downside that I can see. Maybe this first one right here. Maybe that first one. But that, as Nate says, that's a proper launch, okay? Right, Nate? That's a proper launch right there. That fits the model. That is a proper launch. That's where I want you guys to be in practice. And then you can work on the rest. So that is a proper launch. And so you follow it back and draw the line. I want you to see it, draw the line. And then, get curious about the pressure and all that, and get curious about the pivot. But look, prices, it's doing something very organized here. And that's a proper launch. And just draw the whole box, okay? Don't get chintzy at first. It's a zone. It's not a perfection thing. It's a zone. If you're a bit anal, you can do like this. but make it a zone. And this is a proper launch. And then you watch, and these are the people, oh my God, I can now get in NetEase. Oh. And that's current. So you know what? We'll be able to watch this guy live and see what happens with this. We don't know yet. I can tell you one thing, prices are going this way. And so you can see when we flip this to the weekly chart, you can see what it looks like here. So the weekly chart kind of takes some of that excitement out, but I still want you guys to be able to, to see these things. And you can absolutely just follow price with it. They're not working anymore. Working, not working. Now we got a whole separate little module in here. Does this work or not? And that just means, does it make a new high from here? That's all. And then you can think, well, there's one or two things going on here, guys. Either we're making lower lows, or we've just made a bigger swing to the upside. See the minor mountain in that modified shift? So either we're making lower lows and continuing down, or we've just carved out a bigger swing. One of those two things is going on right now, from what I can tell. So we'll watch this live. Pays your money, it takes your chances, right? But what are the facts, Jack? What is it currently doing right now, right this minute? If I was to tell this story with this, I'd say currently the minors are going up, the majors are going down. It's holding this one. We don't know, but it's grinding up against that major currently. You see how these are picking out the median line? So currently, I know the story. I'll make a decision if I want to sell it or I want to buy it, or if I want to try both. Mountains holding, minor mountains holding. That's the fact. We can just fact it, and we will say this minor mountain is so far being tested. Okay, so far. So far, it's being tested. And we can watch these people get excited. Ugh. Is it just making a one of these? We don't know yet. There's no amount of drawing and structures you're going to slap on this thing that's going to tell you for sure. But I do know it's going up right now. I do know we have this swing here. And I can gauge the story. Either these guys are growing up to be a bigger swing, or we're turning into that situation. But either way, work on finding pretty ones that push to both the upside and the downside. And then Tuesday, we'll look at a few, and then we'll look at a type 2. But it's this kind of practice where you'll get to see all the weird stuff that it does. And you'll get to actually do some practice in it. All right, so let's cash that one out. We learned a few little lessons today. And we'll come back to some of these markets. We didn't get to talk about some of these, but we'll do that. We can't do everything, right? Can't do everything. Nate says, this must be the first session forever that we didn't touch on the yen or the euro. I had to hold myself, Nate. I had to hold myself. You could just look. There, we touched on it. Okay? So you guys, and I know you tick chart guys are like, oh, thank God. So we'll come back Wednesday. Think about what we're going to name that room. Look for pretty type ones. I haven't seen a whole lot in the currencies right now unless you up the time frames. And look for them both up and down, and just practice without too many conclusions, please. Don't make too many. And Mike, investigate what you're thinking there. Investigate what you saw. You completely have the ability to do it. I know you. I know you're smart. Just now look, right, and get curious at it. So thanks, Pete, Grace, Edward, Roz, everybody for playing along. And yeah, let's think of a name we're going to call this besides homework. Thank you, Nate, for putting it up there. And we got to come up with something there. See you guys on Wednesday.